Hi there, everyone. My name is Hezekiel, and today I've decided to make this video as this is the edition of the first video where I was speaking about the processor. I was speaking about uh, which things consider before you go to the store to purchase a PC. So now this video today is about to differentiate between a computer processor and a gigahertz. So there may be a question from your side where you ask me and say that it is a processor, a gigahertz. Because in my first video, I've emphasized that you must make sure that you focus on the number of gigahertz when you are on the store to buy a processor. I've emphasized that the gigahertz must be 3 and more. So someone can come and ask me a question and say, is a processor a gigahertz? So my answer to that question is that there are two different things. Processor and a gigahertz, they are two different things, but they work hand in hand. They work hand in hand. One without the other is not powerful. One without the other is not powerful. Processor without a gigahertz is not powerful. So let's go in detail and actually explain what a gigahertz is, so that we will find how gigahertz and processor work hand in hand. Let's first start with a processor, since it is the first one on our screen. So a processor, it is a kind of a system that processes instructions and information. So for a processor to actually be able to process instructions and information quickly as possible, it needs something called speed. For it to be active, it needs speed. It needs speed. For example, if maybe you speak slowly, you might need something to boost you so that you can start speaking faster. I'm just giving an example. So that's how a processor works. For a processor to process that information or that instruction fast, it needs a gigahertz. What is a gigahertz? A gigahertz is a unit frequency per second. So a gigahertz, it is a number, it is multiple count of numbers within a second. That is a gigahertz. Gigahertz is how fast something is per second. Let me give an example. If you can put your hand on your heart and feel how your heart beats within a second, that's where you will know what a gigahertz is. If you put your hand on your heart and you feel your heart, how many beats is your heart doing per second, then you will know how gigahertz works. It means that the processor, to be fast, it needs a strong gigahertz. It needs an ability of a count per second to be faster. The processor. So that's how it is. A gigahertz, it is a unit of frequency per seconds. It is how numbers count themselves within a short period of time, within how the numbers count themselves per second. Per second. How is it gonna be able to count per second? That is a gigahertz. So for processor to be able to process the instruction and information, it needs speed. It must be able to process that instruction faster. Within seconds, it must be able to produce or processes instruction that is about maybe billion times per second. Per second, billion times instructions and information it is processed. So for that speed needed, we have to use a gigahertz. For that speed needed, we have to use a gigahertz. So that is the only thing, gigahertz, that determines the speed of the processor. The gigahertz determines the speed of the processor. So I do hope that this gets to you. You do really understand exactly what am I trying to explain here, because I'm trying to explain it so that you can understand it better. Is it a computer processor, a gigahertz? The answer is no. Processor is processor, gigahertz is gigahertz, but they work hand in hand. One cannot be productive without the other. One cannot be productive without the other. So the processor needs a gigahertz to work fast and productively. So if I've gave a simple example about how a heart beats within seconds, it beats many times per second. So that is example of how gigahertz works. That is an example of how a gigahertz works. And even on your pulse, you can put your hands on your pulse. You can put your hand on your pulse and hear how many times are they beating per second. How many times are they beating per second? Then that is an example of that explains how gigahertz works. So since my explanation and main focus is between the processor and the gigahertz, I want us to go and answer some few questions. Maybe you might ask yourself a question and say, is a computer processor needs a gigahertz? So if you say that a computer processor needs a gigahertz, my answer to you is yes. According to me, according to the knowledge, according to the experience, according to how it must be, according to the concrete knowledge, gigahertz, it is compulsory. It is compulsory. Because in some cases, you can find that some computers, they use megahertz. But we will explain everything in detail. Let's go step by step. So you might ask yourself that question, that is a gigahertz compulsory to a processor? As I said, my answer is yes, and we will go and explain in detail. So there will be any statement I will use and say, must all the computers use a gigahertz? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. all the computers must use a gigahertz. So what if you find yourself in a store and a computer uses a megahertz? So it's very important that you understand the difference between gigahertz and megahertz, so that you will know which one is the best and which one is right. Which one is right to choose. So since that is the case, I have explained a gigahertz. What is a gigahertz? I want us now to actually check the factors that are affecting the gigahertz. So when you check on the internet, for internet to communicate with any other devices, like to communicate, the communication between the internet and the devices, the minimum requirement of the speed required in that kind of action or that kind of activities taking place, it needs a minimum of 2.4 gigahertz. Internet, it needs at least minimum of the speed of 2.4 gigahertz. And also for network purposes, the wireless connection, the wireless network connections, they also need a minimum of 2.4 gigahertz. When I explain these numbers in details, it's 2400 gigahertz. So as we have a megahertz, we don't only have a gigahertz, we have a gigahertz and we have a megahertz. So there will be a question when you ask that which one to choose between a gigahertz and a megahertz. So first, let's explore these two and see which one is bigger than the other. So we have a gigahertz. So a gigahertz, it is actually a billion times count per second. It means that per second, a gigahertz is able to process billion times per second. It's able to count billion times per second. And a megahertz, it's able to count million times per second. It's able to count million times per second. So that's the difference between a gigahertz and a megahertz. So now, as I've explained that a gigahertz, it is bigger than a megahertz, it means that a gigahertz, it is preferred always to be the one you must look for in a processor. That is the only one that you must look for in a processor. If it happens that you find a computer with a megahertz, in most cases, megahertz, it was used before in the older days. Megahertz, it was used in the older days. And if you find it now in a computer, just know that that computer is just for simple stuffs. It's not for heavy things, for big things. It's just for simple stuffs. So you must not choose a megahertz over a gigahertz. Always a gigahertz must be the one. So this is what I'm talking about. 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 At all the times you will find this gigahertz. You will find gigahertz. You'll find gigahertz, and a minimum recommended gigahertz to work in internet is 2.4, and on wireless network communications is also 2.4. So this means that the good processor is 3 gigahertz and more. Is 3 gigahertz and more. But because of 2.4, it is a minimum. It can also be at least, we can just say at least, it's good, 2.4. But the recommended is 3 gigahertz and more. So always when you get to the store to buy a computer, it must be gigahertz, not megahertz, because megahertz is the smallest one, and even megahertz is for simple stuffs, not for serious things. So I do hope that you do get what a processor is and what a gigahertz is, because it happens in some cases that you find out that you have a processor, but that processor, it does not have a gigahertz. So if it does not have a gigahertz, it's not recommended. It's not recommended because it is not powerful, it is not reliable. The performance of the computer is not going to be good. It's going to be disappointing. Let me show you some. So now if you find out that in the store you go to check the device specifications and you find that we have the store has this kind of a computer, the store has this kind of a computer, this computer here on the screen. You see it says the processor, you can see the processor is what, you can see the processor is what, it's the processor is, let me put it in the right way so that you can see. So you see the processor the processor we have here, the processor we have here, it is Intel i3 modification, and then we have 800 megahertz. 800 megahertz. So megahertz is too small, too small. It can perform million times per second, while a gigahertz can perform billion times per second. So if it comes to now this number and it says 800 megahertz, it is too much slow. The performance of this computer is going to be very slow. It's going to be very slow. You can't do anything with this kind of a computer. Anything, if you want to transfer some files from one folder to another or from one device to another, it's going to take 10 hours to complete that activity. It's going to take 10 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours. It will be too slow. Downloading a movie, it's gonna take 2 days. No, I'm exaggerating. It's gonna take some 6 to 5 hours. So this kind of a computer is not this kind of a processor, this kind of a megahertz, this kind of megahertz is not good. Is not good. It's not preferable for a processor to use a megahertz. A processor must not use a megahertz in these days. Maybe in the older days, yeah, in the older days, yes, computers were using megahertz. And now computers that are using the megahertz, maybe they might be for simple stuffs. I don't know which activity are you gonna do with this 800 megahertz. So, but a compulsory one, any computer must have a gigahertz. So if you mistakenly found a computer with a megahertz nowadays on the store, just know that that computer is not powerful. It's just for simple stuff. It's not powerful. It's not powerful, and it's not recommended for you to buy for personal stuffs, because you won't enjoy anything. If you are downloading a song, you are downloading a file, it's going to be slow. It's going to be slow to download, just to download a file. It's gonna take long. It's gonna take long. Movie, even I cannot talk about movies. It's going to be too much longer than more than expected hours. So megahertz is not recommended. If you go to the store and you find a computer with megahertz, it's not recommended. It's not recommended. Don't actually entertain such kind of processors, such kind of a speed processor. This speed is not recommended. Megahertz is not recommended. Even this one is too much slow. 800. It's not even 1000. It's not even 2000. It's not even 3000. It's only 800. Too small. So I do hope and believe that you do really understand how the gigahertz and the megahertz actually works. The speed, how the speed is being determined. I do believe that you understand how the speed is being determined. So if you want to check your network connection, if you want to check the speed of your network connection, maybe your Wi-Fi, how fast is it, the speed of it to actually operate in processing information and in transferring information, receiving and releasing, and the operation or communication of that network with other devices. To check that network speed, which is the speed, which is the gigahertz, you must go to the network properties. You click on the network which you have connected, and then you click on properties, and after clicking on properties you scroll down and you're gonna find the network specifications. And on the next network specifications, it's going to exactly tell you what a speed, what kind of a speed is that Wi-Fi network. You will find which speed is your network using, which kind of speed is it using. As I've said, that the minimum one, it is 2.4 gigahertz. So we will just shortly go to the network and see what is that exactly am I talking about. So now here is the network. If you want to see your network communication, which kind of speed do you have on your network, you click on properties. After clicking on properties like this, let me click on it. It must open for us so that we can see which kind of yes, now it opened for us. So you go down on the specifications. So on the specifications, can you see that we have a network band which is 2.4 gigahertz? Can you see here? and you see here we have 2.4 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz for network communication and more. So that's where you can see what kind of speed is your network. That's where you can see what kind of speed is your network. So but the main message of this, the main thing about this video is to actually differentiate between a processor and a gigahertz, and how important is the processor to work together with the gigahertz instead of a megahertz. How important it is a processor to have gigahertz, not a megahertz. So that's the actually main part a part of the video. That is the most important thing about this video, is to differentiate between a processor and a gigahertz, and how they works, and why it is important, and why is it compulsory that a processor work hand in hand with the gigahertz, not any other kind of speed, but a gigahertz. Because megahertz is small, and even it is recommended for simple devices, not for the serious ones. Because a gigahertz per second, it can be able to perform per second it can be able to perform billion times. It can be able to count billion times. That is the speeds of a gigahertz, the speed of a gigahertz. So that's why it is recommended, because of its speed. It's high per second. So when you go to the store, don't make a mistake of choosing a megahertz instead of a gigahertz. So do you see, there's a gigahertz. Any kind of a computer, it must be gigahertz. Don't make a mistake of making choosing, you see, the gigahertz. You see, it is a gigahertz. It must be a gigahertz at all times. It must be a gigahertz. It must be a gigahertz. This is too much important. Even if the processor company can modify its processor, and then they don't actually work together with a gigahertz, that modification is not going to be powerful. It's not going to surpass the power of gigahertz. If the company the company processor modify its processor to any kind of a modification, but after it uses a megahertz, just know that that modification, it won't surpass the gigahertz, the previous modification with a bigger gigahertz. So just know that the modification without gigahertz is useless. So that's why in all the times there must be a gigahertz. There must be this thing. There must be this thing, a gigahertz. And this gigahertz, the minimum is 2.4, and recommended is 3 gigahertz. 3 gigahertz. 3 gigahertz. So you are winning. You are winning if you are on the store to purchase a PC and you find yourself having 3 and more gigahertz. Then you are winning. Even for professional activities, for professional reasons, you need 4. You need 4, even 4 and more. 4 and more. 4 and more. for professional reasons, because you cannot be in an office and then you find yourself with a low performance computer. Your computer is slow and you have a queue of people who you must actually process their things on the on the on the uh, on the company's database and so on, or on the any department's database. So it must not be slow. So I'm just giving an example about the companies and departments, but it must be fast. It must, even for professional reasons, recommended is 4 gigahertz. So I do hope you understand why it is important always to look for a gigahertz instead of megahertz, and why is it important and compulsory that a computer must have a gigahertz. So I do hope and believe that this video it becomes helpful and beneficial to you. As I've said that and as I'm concluding, I'm saying that gigahertz, the requirement of internet, the speed for you and the internet, the minimum, it must be 2.4 gigahertz for internet, and for network connections or network communications it also must be 2.4 gigahertz. And then even for a computer device it must be 2.4, and recommended is 3 and more. That is the best and the good and the great. So I do hope that you now have a clue about the gigahertz and the megahertz. So now what are the benefits of a good gigahertz? What are the benefits of a good gigahertz? The benefit of a good gigahertz is that you will be able to download the movie like you are downloading a song. It won't be different when you are downloading a movie, even when you are downloading a song. There won't be any differences. You won't even notice the difference. So that are the benefits of a good gigahertz. You will download a movie like a song. You will download files like songs. You will download videos. You will download songs, pictures, videos, anything. Even your Wi-Fi connection is going to be fast. It's going to be fast. Your Wi-Fi connection is going to be fast. You are going to enjoy your internet. You are going to enjoy everything that you will be doing with your computer. So it's very important that you make sure that this information works in the best interest of your choices for your computer purchases. So from me to you, shalom. Subscribe to this channel and then let's explore the world of computers together. Shalom.